We may be live somewhere. If we are, hello, people, but it's showing that we're not live. So this is some technical difficulties here. Let's see, Tim. Don't think we're live yet, but
Might be live on X.
that's really weird. Let's see here. Let's try again.
Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Gourmet Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. Had a little technical difficulties getting cranked up. It said we were not live. However, we were live. And I love how everyone in the chat knows us all too well. They're like, hey, you're live. Don't get canceled. Okay, you are live right now.
Do it live.
Hopefully everybody's had an awesome day, man. It was wonderful around here. Got out and ran a few errands, enjoyed the weather. It was a good day. Tim, how was yours, big dog?
Man, great day, great day. Happy to be here, talk a little ball. I feel real good about the mock we did this morning, So I don't know. It's good. I'll take it,
Yeah, that was a fun mock. It really was, man, especially for a spur of the moment mock for sure.
I think so. I think we did pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here in the chat. We already had a question or at least a comment. The aggressive UFO says Tyrion. Is that how you would say it? Tyrion? How would you say it? Maybe he meant Tyrone. I don't know. Ingram Dawkins from Georgia. He is a dog, late round, still, but needs polishing. He fits Goots RAS and body type. Take a look at Denzel Burke or Zy Frazier, which we hit on them earlier today, right? And then also Cone, Western Michigan, late picks. Yeah, we just took a quick look at your boy Ingram Dawkins here from Georgia, edge defender. We got him in the 403 spot. But it's because we have very little information. Like the only thing we have is PFF wasn't very generous to him in 2024.
Nope.
However, the consensus big board had him in the 238 spot. And of course, he got that 5-point RAS scoring a 9+. So that's kind of where he sits there. But appreciate it, man. There's going to be some late round gems. We're trying to cover all of them. That's why we're really keying in on everyone that's met with the Packers, Tim, because we know these guys are going to end up either getting drafted or signed on as UDFAs. That's going to happen. So we're trying to make sure we grab all that information we can. That way we're prepared for it. Maybe you guys got an idea of what these players look like, how well they may or may not play when they get to the league. So I think it's very important to focus on the bottom half of the draft for sure. And we're showing bad connections. You guys let me know in the chat if everything sounds okay. All right. Just to make sure, because it's showing I have zero connection right now. Showing there's 73 people watching, but hopefully you guys can hear us okay. Tim, first thing I want to lead off with, there you go. Thank you, Bates. Appreciate you, man. If you'll give me, actually, I'll just throw it up real quick. Let's do a screen grab here. This was Greg Cosell once again. Earlier we played an audio before you hopped on this morning, him talking about Maxwell Harrison. Well, here he is talking about Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. This is very, very interesting comments from Greg Cosell once again. Keep in mind how much zone we played last year, right? And listen what Greg Cosell says here. This is on One Bills Live, an awesome show that he appears on pretty regularly. You guys listen, whether you're a Bills fan or not. Obviously, you're Packers fans hearing my voice for the most part. We got some fan bases that tune in. But if you'll hop over there, they do excellent draft coverage. So definitely want to show them some love. It's called One Bills Live. Here's Greg Cosell on Trey Amos, cornerback out of Ole Miss.
This is the guy I was talking about that I think fits the Bills because I think he's a really good zone corner. Now, he can play press, but, I mean, you're dealing with a guy that's 6'1", 195. Brownie, he actually ran really well at the Combine. There was, a lot of talk before the Combine. I actually did his tape in detail before the Combine, so I really liked his tape. I watched 6 games, and I was very anxious to see his athletic testing, and it was pretty good. I mean, I think he ran a 4.43, and again, not that means everything, but 40 times for corners usually do mean something. And I really thought that, he played zone really, really well. I thought he could read receiver splits and routes. I thought he communicated really well on the back end. I thought he had a good sense of spacing. I thought he kind of understood the conflict areas in zone. I thought he played with good eye discipline. I mean, I think this guy can play both, but I think he's a good zone corner prospect. And to me, I don't think there's that many of those guys in college. So when I see one, it stands out.
All right, there you go. Some pretty high praise there from Greg Cosell when it comes to Trey Amos. I always get Trey Amos and Trey Harris mixed up every single time. It never fails. So he got the 5-point Greg Cosell bonus there. And let's see where that puts him now on the board, Tim, because he's slowly climbing up here, man, as Trey Amos is now in the 44 spot on our big board. Remember, we had the tweet, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that talked about there was confirmation. Someone had mentioned there were several people from the Packers down there with their eyes on Trey Amos pretty closely. They've already met with him before that pro day, and he obviously meets the athletic threshold for cornerbacks for the Packers. So in the 44 spot, man, again, 2022 PFF grade, he was 309th. Then he improved all the way to 160th at his position. Then he jumped all the way to 21st. The PFF big board had him in the 28th spot. The consensus big board had him at 45. Kyle Krabs had him at 30. Dane Brugler had him at 93. A little bit of difference there, obviously. His RAS scored him an 8+ last I checked. I'll go confirm that right now. And then, of course, the Greg Cosell bonus, that puts him in the 44 spot. What do you think about Trey Amos, man?
Yeah, versatility, right? There's that magic word. I think he's pretty versatile corner. He's got the good size, good build, right? 6'1", 190, something like that. PFS got him right at 40 right now, graded out 85.6 last year, 19th out of all corners. So, here we go again, another Ole Miss guy, right? And someone that you should definitely have on the radar.
Yeah, they are everywhere, all over this draft. And again, with the connection, guys, I know I'm hearing that people are saying the camera's blurry. That's probably a good thing. If it's my camera, I'll just leave it at that. But as long as you guys can hear okay, that's all that matters, right? So we did have some storms blow through. That's probably what it was. I'm sure it shook some stuff up out here with the local intrawebs that we've got here in terms of service. So Trey Amos, keep an eye on him again in the 44 spot. If he's sitting there at 54, that's a no-brainer. The question will Goody and his gang like him enough to say, hey, let's take him at 23? I wouldn't rule out anything with this draft because, again, when people hear that, Tim, they probably think you're crazy. There's no way I would draft Trey Amos at 23. We're going off our board, right? We're going off just the tools that we have and the very little knowledge that we have around the game and the draft. But you'll remember back to what Daniel Jeremiah said, Tim. He said from 20 to 60, we have no idea what's going to happen. Like, we pretty much know what those top 20 players are. There's like 7 to 10 blue chips, it looks like. Then you got that next tier of players. And then you jump from 20 to 60 is like these guys could go anywhere. Well, guess what? Trey Amos is in the 44 spot. We're picking 23rd. If a former NFL scout says, hey, look, these guys, anybody between 20 and 60 is worthy of the 21st pick, and he didn't all out say that, but that's kind of what he's alluding to is these guys are that close, and there was time for them to separate, obviously. But don't be surprised, man. Maybe Goody falls in love with one of these players that we see in the 40s or 50s. I mean, last year with Jordan Morgan, he was in the 30s, and we took him in the 20s, right, on our big board. So that makes sense.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to go corner and Jahdae Barron's not on the board. I know we got lucky a couple of times with some mocks and we're able to get him early, but I think Amos would be, you could call it a reach, but it all depends on how you look at it. I think if they got a good grade on him, I wouldn't be upset at all if Goody pulled the trigger. Of course that would tilt the board when it comes to other position groups, but that's why you put the grades that you have on the guys and you take the visits that you take, because of the fact that you don't know how things are going to shape out on draft day. So you've got to be prepared. I'm fully confident that we will come away from this draft addressing several positions of need, whether it's guys that we were in love with, whether we're in love with the round they're drafted, whatever. That's to be determined. But I think at the end of the day, we're gonna do what we always do, which is at least hit on a handful of these picks in the draft.
Absolutely. Drew D says, where were all the cornerbacks ranked at this time in the 2021 draft with Stokes and those guys? That's a great question. You know what? I think I can access that actually, Tim. Let me close this out real quick, and I'm going to go over to the Consensus Big Board mock draft database. Let's get it up on the screen. I'm glad Drew asked it. I think this would be a fascinating little conversation here. Why don't we pop this up here real quick? This is from the mock draft database website. And let's go. I guess that would have been 2021 is what he's asking about, right?
Yes, 21 draft.
Cornerbacks. Patrick Surtain II was 11th overall. J.C. Horn 14th. Caleb Farley 19th. Greg Newsome II 22nd. Asante Samuel Jr. 37th. Looky here. I see what Drew was talking about.
Yep.
Eric Stokes was in the 44 spot, and we took him with the first-round pick. There you go, Tim. Very interesting.
And interesting that Patrick Surtain at 11 is the highest ranked, corner going into that draft. We've got, Travis Hunter and Jahdae Barron this year. Those guys are 1 and 7. If you're going by, depending on which board you're looking at, they're usually in that range. So I think the corner depth in this draft might be a little bit better in comparison to 2021, but that is interesting. You talk about presidents. There's Stokes sitting there at 44, and we all know how that turned out, right?
Yeah. Prince in the chat. Amos has been mocked to us at 23 before, but yeah, it seems a bit early, but cornerback is going to be tricky to predict this year with all the injuries. Like we talked about, man, when we passed on Jahdae Barron in our latest mock, boy, we found ourselves, we couldn't find one anywhere, Tim. And we kept reverting back to well, Jair's on the roster right now. Right. With us knowing it's highly unlikely he's going to be on the roster. So when was Jair drafted? You remember, was it 2019?
2019, I believe.
I'm going to go back here real quick and just see if he pops up. Okay, so it wasn't 2019. It must have been – it couldn't have been 2020, right? Or was
then it's got to be 18 then.
It's got to be 18. Let's see. There he is. So he was actually 23rd on the big board, on the consensus big board, and they had us taking Josh Jackson. I remember this like it was yesterday. Yeah. Remember, we passed on Josh Jackson. Everybody was pissed off. We got Jair, then we came back in the second round, I think it was, second or third, and double dipped and took Josh Jackson.
Yep.
And there you go. The one that everybody was clamoring for in the first round the first time, Josh Jackson, bust, and then Jair Alexander, home run. Now with Josh Jackson, here's where you got to be really cautious of just looking at stats where, we got a crew that just likes to focus on sacks and interceptions. If I remember correctly, Josh Jackson was an interception machine in college, and that did not translate to the NFL. So really, really interesting looking back on some of these, man. This is wild. I'm trying to think here. Let's go just kind of walk through not last year. We kind of remember what happened last year, right? Let's go 2022. And see how many of these were hits here at the top. Okay. Aiden Hutchinson hit. Trayvon Walker, most people would say a hit. Kayvon Thibodeau, I think that's a hit.
Yeah.
Evan Neal, not sure about Evan Neal, to be honest with you. I don't even know if this guy's still in the league. Akeem Ekwonu out of NC State, they had him in the 5th spot. Ahmad Gardner, cornerback out of Cincy. I mean, you can hit after every one of these. Derek Stingley Jr., now he just got paid, boy. He just got banked. And that honestly feels like if we look at the corners here, he would have been the second-ranked corner. That kind of feels like Jahdae Barron there, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the type of player you could potentially get. There's Kyle Hamilton. He was in the 9th spot at the time. Charles Cross was 8th. Malik Willis was 10th. 10th. On the consensus big board. We traded a 7th-round pick for him. And then acted surprised that he balled out. I
love it.
Yeah, really, really cool.
Man. Hindsight's 2020, baby. It's fun to look back in comparison. It really is.
It is, man. Garrett Wilson in the 12th spot. Drake London in the 13th spot. Both of those solid picks. Jameson Williams seems to be a solid pick. It's still early. They got him in the 14th spot. Kenny Pickett in the 15th spot. Boy, that one did not pan out. And then, of course, Jordan Davis, stud with Philadelphia in the 16th spot. Trevor Penning, offensive tackle, 17. Chris Olave, 18. Trent McDuffie, 19. Devin Lloyd, 20. Yeah. George Karlaftis, I think he ended up going to the Chiefs, right? We were mocked to get Treylon Burks. Thank God that didn't happen, right? He ended up being horrible, at least up to this point. Zion Johnson, interior offensive line from Boston College. Kenyon Green, interior offensive lineman from Texas A&M. Devontae Wyatt. There we go. So Devontae Wyatt was sitting in the 25 spot on the consensus big board, and we took him at 22. I think if we didn't trade back, we would have been the 22nd pick. So it checked out there. It's interesting to look at the past drafts and see, all right, where did we take these guys? Where were they projected? Did we reach down into the 40s out of what most consider the first round, right? Drew D. Wyatt is actually one of the better picks at this point, isn't he? He really is. Yeah, I would agree with that. So let's go back one more year. It's funny, we didn't have none of this planned, but here we are. Trevor Lawrence, number 1, he just got the bag. Zach Wilson, that was a bust, right? I think.
I think so.
Kyle Pitts, number 3. Mac Jones, 4. That ended up being a bust. Justin Fields, 5. To say he's the number 5 prospect, I got to say that's a bust, right? I think Justin Fields would have been better on a team that wasn't called the Bears, but, Jamar Chase, 6. Trey Lance.
Bust.
Trey Lance just signed with the Canadian Football League, I think I heard Ryan say. That's insane. Panay Sewell, home run.
Yep.
Jalen Waddle, 9th. Rashawn Slater, 10th. Patrick Surtain, the 2nd.
Wow. Look at that. Devontae Smith, Micah Parsons. Look at that run right there. 11, 12, and 13.
No doubt. Christian Darrisaw, pretty good tackle too, right? I think he ended up in Minnesota, if I remember right.
Yep.
Quiddy Pay, boy, I don't even know if he's in the league anymore. He seemed to be a swing and a miss. Vera Tucker. There you got Koromoa, linebacker out of Notre Dame. Caleb Farley, Jalen Phillips, Tevin Jenkins, Greg Newsome II. All right, so where did we pick here? Let's see where it shows our mock at. So we picked 29th, right? So let's see who we would have taken here. See if any names ring a bell. I'm trying to think. Who did we draft this year? This is, again, 2021, Tim. Was that we didn't say Devontae Wyatt. So that would have been the Quay Devontae Wyatt the year after or the year before. So who would this have been in 2021? Darnell Savage? Am I thinking right?
See, I thought Savage was 2020.
Stokes. It was Stokes. So this was the year it was Stokes.
Yeah, this is the Stokes one. Okay.
Yeah. So we took Stokes at 29, and he was 44th on the big board. So there you go. Yeah, appreciate everybody in the chat. All right, let's go back. Go ahead, Tim. What you got, buddy?
Yeah, no. So it draws attention to what we were talking about, right? You can have a grade or whatever you want on a guy. Doesn't mean that's within the accurate prediction of where he's going to be drafted. There's guys that are, they fall or they rise and they fall. And it's a lot of times it's not even based on the player. It's based on the management style and the approach by the team that's looking to draft them. Clearly Goody was high on Eric Stokes for some reason and pulled the trigger that year. Right. So.
Yeah. And then Creed Humphrey at 45, right? Obviously.
Yeah. That one hurts. That one hurts.
Where was Josh Myers at on the consensus big board? Boy, was he really this far down? There he is, 90th. They had him in the 90 spot, and we took him in the 2nd round.
Wow.
Goody really did. It seemed like he reached on both those first 2 picks, according to the consensus big board, right? Yep. That's really, really interesting. Oh, they said our audio just dumped. This ain't good.
What's going on?
Don't do this.
I can hear you.
Can you guys hear us? Confirm. Holmes just said the audio just dumped. It's good for me, Holmes. Okay, Drew D said we're good.
Oh, so Holmes just sat on the remote or something. Muted his.
Hey, it happens to me, man. You have one too many daddy sodas, and you sit on the mute button, and then you think you went deaf all of a sudden, right? J. Cole overthinking. I think he's talking about Goody. It kind of feels like it, right? Like he went, and both of those guys, heavy RAS guys, right? So that's very, very interesting. All right, let's go back one more year here, Tim, just to see. I got to take a glance. 2020, I want to say, all right, that was the Chase Young year. So, number 1, Joe Burrow. 2, Chase Young. 3, Jeffrey Okudah. Okudah obviously ended up being a swing and a miss. Tua was a hit at 4. Isaiah Simmons was a whiff, I feel like, at 5. Justin Herbert was a hit at 6. Tristan Wirfs, I'd consider that a hit at 7. Derek Brown, I don't even know if he's still in the league. I'm not sure. Jedrick Wills Jr., offensive tackle out of Alabama in the 9 spot. Andrew Thomas, tackle out of Georgia in the 10 spot. Mekhi Becton's still in the league. I wouldn't say he's a great player. Jerry Jeudy. CD Lamb. There you go. CD Lamb at 13. That's a pretty solid one, right?
Yep.
Let's see here. Just going down. Henry Ruggs, man, he's the guy who ended up going to the clink for killing somebody in a car accident, didn't he? Something like that. It was absolutely horrible. I believe that was him. You guys confirm for me in the chat. Hopefully I didn't completely slander somebody's name and get it wrong. Swing and a miss. Kenneth Murray, Josh Jones, Patrick Queen.
There's a hit.
Yeah,
Xavier McKinney, there's a hit.
Look at
Jay
that.
Money, there's a hit.
Wow, I didn't realize they were in the same draft class, man.
Yes.
Xavier McKinney, 22, Jordan Love, 23. That's wild.
Love it.
Really, really interesting. Yeah, so that was obviously our pick in 2020. I'm just trying to see some of these names here. There's T. Higgins. We obviously know.
Jonathan
Antoine
Taylor.
Winfield Jr., that was a hit at 44. Wow. Holy cow. So, yeah. Very, very interesting, man, to look back on past drafts. That's a lot of fun. Any other years you want to hit or position of any specific year, Tim? Anything?
Oh, not that I can think of offhand. How far back? Oh, it goes back to 16, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could go way back if you want. Let's go to 16.
What's 2016? Let's go way back into time here.
Jared Goff 1, Carson Wentz 2, Jalen Ramsey 3, Laramie Tunsil 4, Joey Bosa 5. Man, that's 5 solid ones, right? Carson Wentz, he ended up veering off, obviously.
Yeah.
DeForest Buckner, Ronnie Stanley, that's solid. Miles Jack. Ezekiel Elliott was great in his prime, man. He really was.
Yep.
Vernon Hargraves, Shaq Lawson, Leonard
Floyd.
Yeah, Sheldon Rankins, man, needs to bring him back some memories right here. Let's see. There's Eli Apple at 18, swinging and miss. There's Jaron Reed. He was on the Packers there for 1 year. He's back in Seattle, I think. Yeah, very, very interesting list. Where does it show the Packers number? It doesn't show, does it? I want to see. There we go, 27. So let's see if we can remember who we took at 27. When we come across him, there he is, Kenny Clark. So we took Kenny Clark. He was ranked 42nd. He peaked at 18, and we took him at 22nd. I think that was a hit. I do. Where it's not the hit is signing him to this most recent contract. So I kind of felt like it was, man, this but there's a leadership quality there that I think the Packers really, really like, right? Yeah. So
wow. Look at Derrick Henry down there at 47.
Oh, man.
That's crazy.
And I want to say he went pretty high, did he not? I think he went in the first round, right? If I remember correctly. There's Jalen Smith, the guy who had the knee injury. The Cowboys took a second-round flyer on, and then he came to Green Bay for a short stint. He just wasn't the same player. I remember when Notre Dame signed him to their recruiting class that year. He was the number 1 linebacker in the country. I mean, he played like it at Notre Dame too. I think it was the last game of the season or the next to last game of the season. He blew his knee out, and that's where he had that nerve damage and everything. So just a tough break for him. So
yeah.
All right. There you go. Just a little look at the consensus big board. That was a lot of fun, man. Just kind of going back in time. And again, we didn't have that as part of the show, but I'm glad we did it, man. Very interesting. What do you say we dive into some offensive line talk, Tim? That good with you, man?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go. Let's dive into an article we put up on the Patreon group. If you guys want to join the Patreon, scan the QR code in the upper right. That'll send you to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. If you're a member of one of the 3 tiers, you'll be entered into the giveaways. You'll also have access to everything on that site for $3 a month. Pretty good quality, in my opinion, where you can get all this extra information. So what we did was put an article together here, top offensive tackles to watch in the 2025 NFL Draft. What you're going to see is where they rank on our big board. We're going to have a little snippet of a scouting report, and then we got the RAS cards attached as well. Here we go, Tim. Number 1 at the top of the list is Will Campbell out of LSU, projected to be a top 10 pick. Leading the pack is LSU's Will Campbell, a dominant force in the SEC, known for his impressive bend of power and agility. Campbell has the tools to be a day 1 starter in the NFL. His ability to anchor against top pass rushers makes him a prime candidate for a top 10 selection. Obviously, the arm length has been a big conversation with Will Campbell, but he scored a 9.90 on his RAS 6'5", 319. I think he's going to be a stud, Tim. I really do.
I do too. I think he's a guy that you'll see probably production out of pretty quickly as a rookie. I think the RAS looks pretty good. And I don't know. I've seen him. Where is he on our board? Will Campbell?
He is 8th on our board.
Eighth on our board. Okay. I've seen him as high as 6 too. PFF had him at 6 for a while. I don't know where he is now.
I can see that. All right, man. Let's move it along. In the 10 spot, here's Emilio's boy. I like him a lot too. Armand Membo. Keep in mind, you guys may log into the Patreon group, and the PTA board looks a little different than this. It's constantly shuffling just a little bit as we're getting more data put in. We will obviously have you a finished product before the draft gets here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to see if I can get Emilio to upload the newest version of the draft board. So you guys will have that in the Patreon group. Just another perk to being in that Patreon community. So Missouri's Armand Membo brings a rare combination of size and athleticism to the table. His versatility and strong play in both pass protection and run blocking have elevated his stock, positioning him as a top 10 talent in this class. Doesn't mean he's going to be taking top 10, but that's what many people were expecting him to go. RAS a 9.89. His height at 6'4" is the only thing that hurt his RAS. His weight, 332, was good. 31 on the bench press, 34-inch vertical. That's insane. Broad jump at 907. Your 40-yard dash was a 4.91 with a 20-yard split of 2.8, 10-yard split of 1.7. Tim, this is one of those players. If we're picking at 23 and somehow, some way, Armand Membo falls us at 23, run the card up there, dude.
Yep.
Absolute stud.
Definitely. I would agree with that 100%. No T-Rex arms on him, right? He's got the arm length and the wingspan, and like you said, the only knock RAS wise is his height. So I agree. I know Emilio's really high on him. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Membo too. Yeah,
definitely. All right, next on the list is Kelvin Banks out of Texas. Projected draft position is a mid-first round. Kelvin Banks from Texas is another highly regarded prospect, showcasing consistency and technique that NFL teams covet. With his experience in a competitive conference, Banks is poised to make an immediate impact at the next level. He scored an 8.26 RAS. He was 6'5", 315, vertical jump of 32 inches, broad jump of 8.08, 40-yard dash of 5.16. So his RAS comes in at an 8.26. There with him, Tim.
I wouldn't be mad about him at 23 either.
Yeah, man, 13 on our board. If he's there at 23, why not? Right?
He looks like a good balance too of the production's there, the PFF grades are there, and then you see the RAS is like good or okay, all right. Like that's what we're talking about, right? We want football players, not just pure athletic freaks. So I like Kelvin Banks, man.
Absolutely. Next on the list is Ohio State's Josh Simmons. He lands in the 22 spot on our big board. Projected draft position is mid-first round. Josh Simmons out of Ohio State has the length and footwork to excel at left tackle. His performance against Big Ten edge rushers highlights his potential as a reliable protector, pushing him into the mid-first round consideration. Now, he has an incomplete RAS card. He weighed in or measured in at 6'4", 317, but he did do 34 bench reps. That's a really, really good performance there. So obviously he's got that upper body strength there. Josh
coming
Simmons,
off injury, right?
What's that?
He's coming off injury, right?
I think he may be. Yeah. We didn't include any kind of injury history here. This was more along the lines of where do they sit on our board and what does the RAS look like, right? That's the big thing. So, all right, next you got Josh Connerly in the 30 spot out of Oregon. All right. Here's what we got on Josh Connerly. Late first, early second rounder. Oregon's Josh Connerly Jr. is a rising star with a frame built for the NFL. His agility and upside suggest he could develop into a long-term starter, making him a strong candidate for the late first or early second round. All right, we got an 8.83 RAS on him. His height, 6'4", 311 pounds, only 24 on the bench press. That worries me a little bit. Vertical jump of 34.5 inches. That was out of the gym. Broad jump of 807, 40-yard dash of 505, and a 20-yard split of 287 with a 10-yard split of 170. Keep in mind, too, guys, you're going to see some guys on here with a low RAS that I guarantee you some of you guys and gals have heard them mention as guards. This is just how our board fell, okay? And we tried to take into consideration who should be considered a guard, who should be considered a tackle. But as Tim has pointed out many, many times, it don't matter because if they're listed as a tackle, we'll move them to guard, right? So it's got to be very interchangeable in that regard. So Josh Connerly Jr. there out of Oregon in the 30 spot. That was one, Tim, that I'd be like, nah, you can't reach for somebody like that at 23 if Goody's board looks like this. You know what I mean?
I agree. That would definitely be one you'd kind of scratch your head at. Not that I don't think Connerly provides good value in the draft. I just don't think he'd be a first-round guy.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Jacob, you got anything to add to Josh Connerly Jr. as we're going through the offensive tackle, sir?
No, I honestly, not to disagree with Tim, but I could see this being a random pick that we're all just like, what? Like this to me seems like one of those where you scratch your head and you're like, okay, all right. I was listening to the pod. I had some stuff going on, but I'm really fascinated by the comparisons of the draft classes there. That was really cool information.
Interesting, man. Very interesting.
It makes me kind of like happy in one way and absolutely pissed in another. You know what I mean? Like it's
right.
It's a very interesting dynamic to do that. So I thought that was really cool.
Did anything stick out to you about it that you might have heard? Any specific players? I mean, there's probably a bunch, but
well, the fact is just that like it was very easy when you highlight the players that like, oh, I mean, these guys are not all pros or whatever, but right. You know, it was easy to pick those players out and to say, oh God, Goody should have done that, blah, blah, blah. But it's like more interesting to me that like it's one and then four players go and then another one and then four players go and then another one goes and four players go and like, you know, 3/4 of the guys you're talking about, they're like not in the league after 3 years. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's easy to go back and cherry pick and be like, oh, you should have done this. You should have done that. Well, guess what, guys? The grade on these guys probably were to the point where like when you're looking at your draft board, if it was us sitting there in the draft room, we'd pull the same trigger. You know what I mean? It's just, it's kind of a crapshoot. And that's where I think the guys like Greg Cosell, and even if you want to go, like, they know what they're talking about because they've done it for years and years and years. Take some credence. Cause have you ever taken the time play to look at like the aftermath of what Greg Cosell does with because I would bet that he'd probably be up on the upper echelon of guys that he actually scouted, claim they were this, and then they became that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I really haven't done that. I've got our draft board from last year. We could probably look at the Greg Cosell bonuses and see how many hits he had. Of course, he's not a player. He's not a guy that's going to say this player's a slam dunk. He's going to be great.
Right.
He's just simply, here's what the tape shows. That's, essentially what it is. Because, and again, he'll preference all the time too. He'll say, he'll preface like, it's how are they going to project to the NFL? That's what you're trying to do, right? So that many times his opinion is, I think this guy will project. And one of the ways he does that is talking about an ascending player. You'll hear him say that a lot, meaning he is hitting his stride as he's coming into the league and got a lot of momentum, as opposed to someone that maybe peaked out in their junior year, came back their senior year, got banged up a little bit, and was just kind of, limping their way into the league. So I think that's very, very important for sure.
I feel like too that he's always, like you said, has a caveat where it's like, I'm not saying this guy's the next Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying this guy's the next this and that. He just says he has traits that if he were to fulfill the path that if he was to fulfill every single trait that he has the capability of, he could be this product kind of guy. Exactly. I like that about him very much.
Yeah, very, very honest, open and honest.
Yep.
Prince in the chat said hindsight's always right 65% of the time.
65%. 65%. That's what
you go. All right, next on the list in the 47 spot, we got Ariante Ursary out of Minnesota. All right. Projected draft position is late first round. It says Ursary from Minnesota offers a mix of strength and tenacity. His physicality in the run game and improving pass blocking skills have boosted his stock, landing him in the late first round conversations. 9.36 RAS, 6'6", 331, 25 bench reps. Broad jump 903, 40-yard dash 501. I want to clock people at the draft. see how many people cannot run as fast as these 330-pound linemen. You know what I'm saying? It's hilarious because we all look at them like they're big and lumbering and slow, and it's like, boy, they probably smoke us in a 40.
I guarantee you I couldn't hit 5 flat. I don't think either one.
Oh, yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, myself, not you. I'm saying I feel.
No, I don't think I can.
If I could run a sub 6, I'd be happy.
That's exactly. Yeah.
All right. Next on the list is Gray Zabel. He's in the 53 spot out of North Dakota State on our big board here. Mid-late first round, it says Gray Zabel, hailing from North Dakota State, brings small school pedigree with big-time potential. His technical soundness and toughness have scouts buzzing, projecting him as a mid to late first-round pick.
Here's the guy.
Obviously, incomplete RAS card, but at 6'5", 312, 26 reps, 36-inch vertical, 903 broad jump. This is that dude that it kind of feels like Zach Tom is what it feels like. He's going to be a great tackle. He'll be probably a Pro Bowl or an All-Pro guard, and he would be a Hall of Fame center is what it sounds like. Now, that's early. He could end up being a bust, but that's just what people were saying at the Senior Bowl, and these are people that are highly respected. But what do y'all think about Gray Zabel? Because, again, we've got him in the 53 spot, but he's being projected mid to late first round. What do y'all think?
I mean, that's definitely a guy if he's on the board at 23.
Yeah. To Tim's Jaden Higgins is my Gray Zabel. I'd be so happy if we traded up and got Gray Zabel. I'd be like, yes. I'd be that meme where I'm just showering the champagne over everybody. Daryl, he backs me up here because Zabel's pass blocking percentage 100%, run blocking percentage 97. I don't quite know what that means, Daryl, but 100%, 97.
Breaking news, baby.
Tell you what, that sounds good to me. I do. He does actually say that Drew D goes, Drew D says that Zabel reminds me of Graham Barton. I completely agree with that. That's the kind of guy that he seems like. He's a plug and play. And Zach Tom's another great comparison. I just really do feel like Gray Zabel is going to be a gift to anyone's offensive line that he is put on.
Yeah. Deadfish says he can run a 4.4 20-yard dash.
Here's a guy.
All right. Okay.
I don't think that's true.
I think that's lies. Number 63, Wyatt Malum out of West Virginia. Projection is a late first-round pick. West Virginia's Wyatt Malum is a gritty lineman with a knack for finishing blocks. His experience in the Big 12 and standout traits have elevated him into the late first-round contention. His RAS card at 801, measured in at 6'6", 313 with a 30-inch vertical. Did not do the bench press. Me no likey that, Jan. 40-yard dash, 5.27. His three-cone was pretty solid at a 7.59. But again, in the 63 spot, there's Wyatt Malum. I want to say he had good grades, though, if I remember correctly.
Very good grades, yeah.
Where did we take him in our mock this morning?
Third, right?
Second.
I believe we took him in the third, Timothy.
Wow.
I think we got it saved here, boys. Let me see if I can find it.
Wow.
I think this is it right here. Boom,
yeah,
third
87.
round. Yeah, that would have been great value because he's in the 63 spot for us.
Yeah.
So Wyatt Malum's grades, according to PFF, 2022, 74.8, 2023, 80.1, 2024, 91 flat with a pass block grade of 92.5, run block grade of 89.2, a true pass set block grade at 92.9. He never had a game under 62. Most of them were in the mid 80s, if not high 90s. That's pretty impressive to me.
That is solid, dude. Solid. Next, you got Charles Grant out of William and Mary. The RAS card is incomplete. As you can see, projected draft position is late first to fifth round with conflicting opinions. Wow. So, I mean, he's been all over the joint. Some people are like, hey, this guy might be a first-round pick. They were saying that early on. Here of lately, it seems like it's closer to the fifth round. It says Charles Grant from William and Mary may come from a smaller program, but his tape shows a player with the tools to compete at the next level. Scouts have widely varying takes, with some seeing him as a late first-round steal and others projecting him as a day 3 pick due to the level of competition concerns. And, of course, the RAS incomplete, and it started off poor, 6'4", 311 with only 19 bench reps. That really hurts someone like Charles Grant. But he has been praised for kind of his footwork, that type of player. So you never know. What do you guys think of Charles Grant there in a 70 spot?
Tim, what do you think? I mean, I look at the hand size. He's got almost elite hand size. He's got almost elite arm length for that, making that initial contact. I was very surprised at the fact that he was as short as he was. According to PFF, he was a little bit taller, a little bit bigger than that. The bench reps obviously has me concerned, but I just feel like the guy can play. It's been against a little bit less caliber of team. What do you think, Tim?
It looks like he actually put on some weight. If they got him there at 311, I mean, he was 300 according to PFF earlier. So, and then obviously they were a little generous with the height as well. So, you get these RAS numbers, and it makes you scratch your head a little bit. I don't know how to feel about Charles Grant. I'm not down on him. I'm not high on him.
So is it fair to say that this is how I feel at first, second, third round? Nah, but anything after the third, I'd be like, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I like, like guys in that range. I like Bo, Marcus Bo out of Purdue.
Yeah.
But Charles Grant, I'm with you. After third round, I'd be cool with it. Probably a project.
Daryl's saying that Grant was 6'5", 311 at the combine. That's quite a bit different than what Math Bomb has here. 5 inches worth.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then that's a vast difference. I'd like to fact check that if we could.
Wait, it's 6'4" and 7, whatever that is, right? Whatever, I think that's what 6.
No, okay, that's probably fair. Yeah.
So it's close. It's a little over 6'4.5", I believe. So,
that's fair.
Yeah. All right. Holmes in the chat says, did Clay refer to my 40 time, brother? I'm looking forward to meeting you for the draft, and we can all do drunk 40s. Nothing more fun. And what we need to do is get a baseball bat over there and put your head on the bat and do 20 circles around it and then run the 40. That's what we need to do. So it's going to be a blast. Man, Titletown is going to be great, man. It is. That's what I'm talking about right here, Holmes. My wife and I, bro, we are people watchers. We just love getting in a public place and laughing our asses off at people in public. So he says nothing's more fun than watching the drunks run the 40 at Titletown. We got to do it, man. Got to do it. We should be the hot men. None of us run it. Just get there in line when people.
Hey, no problem with that.
We'll be handing out little shots.
Oh yeah.
We'll be feeding them Alfredo.
Oh my God. Carb load.
I ate more chicken Alfredo and just less water.
All right. We got in the 71 spot, Marcus. I've heard people say it's Bo. I've heard people say it's Mbo. What
Bo.
are you guys saying?
The M is silent.
Right,
I'm gonna have to text Ryan because he keeps saying Mbo and it drives me insane.
He's not the only one, man. I've heard people on NFL Network calling him that. So projected draft position, mid to late first round. Purdue's Marcus Bo is a developmental prospect with raw talent that's turning heads. His size and strength paired with untapped potential have pushed him into the mid to late first round discussions. Obviously an incomplete RAS when we took the information down there as well. So 6'4", 303, obviously a little lot there on the weight. The shuttle wasn't too bad. Ran a shuttle at 4.67 is what was reported here. So 7.97 is what that scored. So what do y'all think about Bo there? What's his PFF grades look like? It's wild, too, because Charles Grant 70, Bo 71. They're right there neck and neck.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. Tim, what do you think about it? Because what I was told, even in the draft coverage, or I'm sorry, in the combine coverage, that Marcus Bo is one of the most physically gifted, quote unquote, tackle/guards where he can get out, he can pull, he can move. But it's like his RAS doesn't quite highlight that.
Which makes me like him even more.
It's just, I was going to say, it's like it almost seems like that he's the exception to the rule that we kind of talk about here, where it's like he's just
almost like he's just a really good football player, right?
It's weird, Tim. I don't know how to do that.
Hey, that's Milwaukee family there. Shout out to Tulsa East.
Oh, that's why you love him. Never mind.
My dude right there, man. We gotta look out.
I forgot.
We gotta look out. 6'5", 300. Come on, man. It's the big dog.
If we ever have a prospect that comes out of Harlan County High, I'll be going, don't take him. I'm going to be honest about my situation. Now, it's funny,
I know his brother. Don't take him. Don't.
We've actually got a kid on the Kentucky basketball team. His name's Noah. He came from Harlan County High. Pretty good little baller, man. He was a lot of fun to watch. I think he's a true freshman this year. So, all right, next we got in the 81 spot, Chase Lunt out of UConn. Projected draft position is 4th to 5th round. Chase Lunt from UConn is a lesser-known name who's gaining traction. His consistency and effort on film have raised his profile, making him a solid mid-round option for teams needing depth. The RAS was incomplete at the time. I'm sure it still is. Size 6'7", 304. I mean, he's going to have how is he 6'7" and his arms are only 32 inches long?
That's tiny. That's crazy. T-Rex arms there. Yeah,
and he had only 20 reps on the bench there for Chase Lunt. So the rest of it is somewhat incomplete here with the RAS. What do you guys got on him, Tim? You got him on anything at all, or Jacob?
Yeah, I got him pulled up.
He got
strength and conditioning for this guy. That's the big gripe. He's got to get stronger to be more consistent against NFL caliber power and speed. So this could be a guy that could struggle unless he, hits that weight room and bulks up. But looking at his PFF, man, he graded out 86.7 last year. The numbers are there. He looks like Mr. Availability. Pretty much exclusively right tackle, but again, doesn't mean he won't end up as a right guard or something in the NFL. But yeah, it seems to be the strength is the big knock on him. So
SDM40 says if you can't tie your own shoes or feed yourself, you can't play left tackle. That's probably pretty accurate there. Number 90, we got Cameron. Go ahead, Jake. I'm sorry, man.
No. You I just wanted to highlight what Tim said. Very clearly a right tackle here. He played one snap at left guard in his whole career out of like almost 2,000 plus snaps. But he, like Tim said, I mean, he does have the credentials, the attributes to be, a decent player. It looks like he only let 5 sacks go his whole career, but it just doesn't seem like he puts it together at a level where it's going to be competing with the highest competition there. But he's interesting for sure, but he's really way big with short arms. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, definitely. All right. For those of you listening on the pod, that's going to do it for hour 1. We will continue the offensive line talk on the other side for hour 2. We'll see you over on hour 2. Appreciate y'all.